Well, Naledi, we continue, of course, our coverage to the build-up of the opening of the polling stations. But, of course, there's a lot of work that goes into that moment that leads to 7 a.m. when the polling stations open. And the police play quite an important role around that. I'm joined now by General Mosikili, who is the co-chair of the NATJOINTS. Important work, General Mosikili, that you have been doing, considering that you have 23,292 voting stations. And as you said, that each and every voting station with IEC material will have to have that material being escorted by the police. Tell us about the work that you've done specifically today.
Thank you very much, Adrian, and your listeners. We have started with our parades as early as 4 o'clock this morning in different parts of the country to put our deployments ready to be transported, to also escort the voting material from 5:30. We're expecting that all the voting materials will have left their warehouses to the respective voting districts, where it is expected that 7 o'clock sharp, all the voting districts must be open and people are able to walk in and cast their votes.
Yeah. So during the escorting, what's the job of SAPS officers?
SAPS or law enforcement, let me say law enforcement, because we do have areas where we are partnering with other law enforcement agencies, your metros, to assist with the escorts. If there is a need to assist and ferry the IEC officials, we do so. We do have that contingency plan to assist them. You will know that we do have some parts of our country that are so difficult to thrive, especially if you don't have adequate resources, if you don't have a fit-for-purpose type of vehicles to do so. So as the South African Police Service and other law enforcement officers, we are there to assist IEC to ensure that material do reach the areas timely.
Considering also the number of police officers that have been deployed, I know that you've been you've tried not to give out the total number of police officers that have been deployed, but also bringing in, for instance, the Metro Police officers to assist. Has SAPS taken the approach to also call people who are on leave back to say that actually we need you now to come and work for this particular period, and your leave will be cut short and you can go back on leave after this period?
We have managed that, and it was managed very well. We have been doing it with all special events that we are having, that commanders were taken on board during our pre-election phase to encourage them to allow members who are due and eligible to take their leaves to do so way before this time, so that when we get into the implementation or execution phase, which is the second phase of our operational plan for these elections, all boots are on the ground. All members that are qualifying to be operational are on duty. So I can confidently confirm that we have managed that very well. Those that were not able to take their leave will be taken later on. And we do have agreements that in case you cannot take your leave because of operational requirements, you will be reimbursed for the days that are due to you. So if members are not able to take their leave for some reason, because we are expecting that we will work even post-election, which is the time that you cannot determine how many days it will take us to make sure that the country is completely safe, everything is calm. So if members cannot take their leave, they will be considered for the payment, but that it's done with a strict management and command and control.
Tell us about the work that you're doing with private security companies, the cooperation there. But also some people have said that it almost then seems that the police themselves don't have the necessary capacity, and that's the reason that they're roping in private security. Would you say that is the case? It
is not the case. We have adopted as this country a people-oriented policing. Hence, we are having community policing forums, and community policing forums will then suggest that you will get resources from anywhere, any person who has the capacity and capability to assist. Remember, we do still have our own constitutional mandate to enforce the law, but we do partner with other agencies, with other private security, with other private persons. That is why we are also seeing different provinces and different municipalities, the cities that are also employing crime prevention wardens. We have in the Western Cape, we do have a crime prevention capacity that the municipalities will have. They will get necessary training. So it is not entirely true that it is because we don't have resources. We do have resources.
But partially there is.
Partially, yes, where we will then need to have our partners to come and work with us.
Okay, tell us about your biggest concerns heading into Election Day, observing what has happened during special voting.
We have taken that into consideration. From the special voting, we are confident that everything went well, especially yesterday. We have seen no incident. It was an incident-free that we took as a try run for today. And today we are expecting that we are going to rise above.
You think that you are going to, but what is the concern? That there must be some concerns, because remember that you also spoke about having some hotspots that have been identified by NATJOINTS, including some of the intelligence-driven information that you have received. Where are the concerns? What should voters know this morning when they leave?
We have mobilized, demobilized when the risk has been reduced. But with the areas that we have identified, the 642 high-risk voting stations that we have identified, we have put enough contingency in those areas. The deployment plan will then suggest that at high-risk areas, you will consider more members, you will consider other crime prevention activities in those areas, such as patrols, over and above the static deployment. But you will not see the same numbers at a low-risk voting stations as compared to the medium and high risk. So where we have a medium risk, we have also augmented the teams or supplemented the teams with other law enforcement over and above those police officers that will be static. The deployment of the high risk voting station, which is 642, we don't have such stations in your Northern Cape, in the Western, Northwest provinces, we don't have. But all other 7 provinces where others, it will be 8. I think we have provinces that are only having 8 of such. We have like cases like of KwaZulu-Natal, where you have more than 300 of the high-risk voting stations.
And that's the biggest for province?
That is the biggest. That is the province that is having the biggest. But Eastern Cape is having more voting stations than others. So on your medium and high risk, you will find Eastern Cape has more that we are deploying.
Did the Mthatha protests catch law enforcement off guard, where the roads were being blocked with trucks and the taxi violence that played out as well? Were you caught off guard?
The fact that we managed to respond and we responded adequately, we have arrested people.
Yeah, but were you caught off guard?
No, we are not caught off guard.
Then how did it happen? How did it happen that there were a number of polling stations that couldn't operate on the first day of special voting because of that particular incident that had taken place?
Incidents such as this will instill fear. The opening is because the time that we managed to remove, people they were not sure whether to proceed. We did not have POs that were at the stations because they couldn't access them. But in terms of us responding, we did. We're not caught off guard.
You were caught off guard.
The fact that we responded, the fact that we have so many arrests, the fact that we even managed to foil some of the shootings, it could have been worse should we have not responded the way that we have responded. And we have indicated that they will happen. We are not saying they won't happen. They will happen, but when they do, we will respond. And those that will want to find themselves on the other side of the law, they will face the full might.
Yep.
Hence, they were arrested.
There was a memo that has been reported on from the KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Police and the Police Commissioner's Office around protest action as well as violence that could play out, specifically in KwaZulu-Natal, and it being linked to the Umkhonto weSizwe political party. Is there anything that you can speak to as part of NATJOINTS about what the concern there is?
We allow the prof joints to also take the security measures when they are alerted. And with the leak of the document that is classified, I will not want to engage because it was not privy for certain elements. You will have a communication that will be an internal communication to the members. And I don't even know the authenticity of that document. We have requested the prof joints to at least respond to the NATJOINTS as to the correctness and the authenticity of the document. So
have they? Have they responded?
They will respond. They
haven't responded as yet.
I haven't checked. I will not say they haven't. I haven't checked. But those are part of the investigation that we undertake. But such leak, it's one of the growing concern that you cannot have confidential documents, even in terms of our laws. Those that will receive confidential information and publicize it is against the law.
You also raised misinformation and disinformation as a major concern leading into the elections. What are some of the issues that you've picked up?
We're putting measures in place on the social media posts that we are getting. We verify them. Those are the measures that we have put in place. We do have our intelligence communities, different intelligence of the country that are converging to provide us with information, and they will sift and tell the operatives of the information that is genuine. That the one that is not genuine, it is handled with accordingly. We engage those that have publicized such,
yep.
and steps are taken in terms of those that will be very defamatory, those that will be instilling fear, those that will be causing panic, then are dealt with accordingly.
Are there any cases that you currently investigate?
We do have cases, we do have arrests. There are people who have appeared in court, especially in KwaZulu-Natal. There are cases in the Western Cape that are still under investigation. Yes, we do respond.
Is this now specifically relating to misinformation, disinformation?
To the incitement that we have received, yes. The incitement we did, but with the misinformation, we don't have arrests as yet because it will require a thorough investigation and to get evidence before you pounce. We don't want to arrest to investigate, but we need to investigate to arrest. So we have our DPCI on board. We have our intelligence desk that is only focusing on the mis and disinformation.
Have there been any arrests following the incident that happened in Chesterville with the IEC's officers? There was an incident, I understand, as well with Hammersdale as well. The IEC did say that they've lodged a complaint with the police. Do you know whether there are any arrests relating to those?
There are no arrests as yet, but the matters are under investigation.
The matter is under investigation.
They are under investigation.
A final one, General, is so there's this cooperation that is taking place between the various law enforcement agencies. You've roped in the NPA as well to try and speedily prosecute these cases that are coming after you're done with your investigations. But what about the courts? Because the matter appears before the court. Have the courts been roped in to say that we actually need specialized courts that will be able to fast-track these cases?
We have put that in place. Remember, the NPA, the DOJ is part and parcel of the cluster, the security cluster. We don't have specialized courts per se, but we do have prioritized courts so that we can respond swiftly. If you have specialized courts, it will be the issue of certain number of courts, but we set to our courts through our joint structures that when this type of cases happen, court needs to prioritize them. So yes, those steps have been put in place. We also have NPA to assist with the investigation with what we call a prosecutorial guided investigation. So when cases happen where we need to have PGI, we deploy, and cases go to court for them to be prosecuted. If there is no need for a prosecution on a matter, then decision is taken promptly and swiftly so that we don't delay this type of cases. I must say, from the first voter registration week up to date, we have seen 21 persons arrested for different types of offenses that are related to elections.
Intelligence. Have you picked up any sort of intelligence around the possibility from a foreign state around interference in our elections? Is there no concern at all for NATJOINTS? Has there been anything that has come before you that said that there is a possible threat of having foreign interference in our elections?
We receive intelligence on a daily basis and hourly. We do have an hourly sit-rep on investigation, on intelligence, I beg your pardon, but we do not have a panic as a NATJOINTS to say, here we are going to be faced with a huge challenge in terms of...
But has there been something that has come forward to you that there could be possible interference by a foreign state or even foreign entity in our elections?
Not really for these elections, no, we haven't, but there are pockets of what you will investigate, whether it is the correct information or not. Remember, I said when we receive intelligence, it first gets to be analyzed, and we will get the product to say, here we need to be alert, we need to look. We are having social media and cyber crime that is here at the Rock. We do have the capacity. Here at the Rock, we have the same capacity at our national joints and intelligence structure, where the intelligence communities are looking at the cyber threats, any information that will come from that space, any interference, any infiltration, we are looking at it so that we can respond accordingly, and we deploy the necessary resources to respond to such.
General Mosikili, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
And all the best with the work that you are required to do, because as part of these elections and ensuring that the elections are free and fair is the element around safety for those who want to go and cast their ballots.
Thank you very much.
What's your assurance right now?
I can.
What's your assurance right now to our viewers? What can you tell them?
They must go and do their democratic right of voting. Our members as well, I want to encourage them to continue to do as proud as the country, to continue to look after themselves. What is important is that if they look after themselves, they will be able to look after our society and the communities. Crime prevention operations are continuing. Over and above those static deployments, over and above the patrolling of the polling station, crime prevention activities are continuing, and our communities can be assured of their safety. If there are incidents, let them be reported at the closest point so that we can respond to those.
Thank you so much. General Mosikili is the co-chair of NATJOINTS. Important work that they are doing ahead of the elections, and of course also the period after the elections. Remember, once the results have been declared as well, you would make sure that there is safety and that the security of those who would be celebrating and perhaps those who would be disappointed in their results, that as part of their constitutional right, that is also upheld.